We're waiting for our friends to retire. We're waiting for our friends to retire who can do this for us, so we don't have to do our own tech work here. But okay. All right, we're good. Okay, we're back on. Thanks everybody for your patience. All right. For those of you who just tuned in, this is the second half of the show. I had a video call knock the first half of the show off, so we had to kind of start over. And thanks for hanging in there with us. Appreciate it.
So our guest tonight.
Our special guest tonight, as you see a little apparatus here, we got Angelwolf, Mike Murburg, and this is Dr. Bob Davis here via satellite or one of these mechanisms that allows you to talk to people with a little picture. So welcome everybody back.
Welcome, Bob. And a little bit about you. You got your PhD from Ohio State University, and you're now a retired professor. You taught at the State University of New York in upstate New York, and you have a couple of books, Life After Death, which I have, and the UFO phenomenon, Should I Believe, among, and you have 60 other or more at this point, peer-reviewed articles, and your genre is neuroscience and sensory neuroscience in particular, and what you've done in the last few years is has basically unite consciousness, try to explain the unity of it with quantum mechanics and paranormal activity. You've researched types of consciousness, ESP, clairvoyance, levels of awareness, intelligence, intellect, self-awareness, and awareness of others. So if there's a consciousness expert around anywhere in the house, in my opinion, it's going to be you. I've seen you lecture. I heard you lecture. I think you're a fantastic lecturer. And if, matter of fact, if you'd been one of my lecturers in one of the classes that I was usually missing at the university, I probably would not only have gone to your class, but I probably would have majored in your subject. So with that introduction, I'm going to pass it over to you, and please explain what's on your mind, what's going on, and what we can help you with.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Mike. It's hard to follow up with those kind words in good cheer. It's very sweet of you. I have a lot of respect for you and your work. Let me emphasize that. You know as much as anybody. You know as much as me. I may be a little familiar with the experimental research in certain areas, sure. I wrote some books on Life After Death, UFO Phenomenon, Unseen Forces, Integration of Science, Reality, and You, the last one. So I'm looking at things like peak experience triggers. So I'm researching information from the near-death experience and out-of-body experience and reincarnation and all things that seem to define Newtonian physics and center around the issue of consciousness, the subjective, the inner world, the things that is largely ignored by our current scientific paradigm. See, you get that. You know as much as I. That's what I'm trying to say. And it doesn't matter where we come from. Maybe I come from a little bit more academic background, so do you. You know, you're a practicing lawyer, my gosh. That doesn't mean anything where we come from. It's what's in here. And then we turn on our 3D suits and do our thing. But our real persona is here. You know, some of us has the nerve to go online and speak a little bit from the heart, more than ever before for me. I never have, but it takes a while to get to that point, especially after you have some very deep personal experiences that many people question. You see, that's the issue too. Let's face it, the current paradigm we operate under has that overarching stigma against people who do have incidents and experiences that defy explanation, and they all come in different forms. It's either at your CE5s at Darby Ranch, interacting with light beings, more than likely intelligence of a different type, but nevertheless interacting with, influencing, mental intuition, intention, is something resonant bond like this happening. Cool, very cool. As long as it doesn't drop an atom bomb on you, very cool.
Well, I think that's why they're here. Is number one to protect us from ourselves, and they see us as a very valuable asset, and seeing that everything is connected and interrelated in so many ways. I think truly that the beings that we're interfacing with, and there's a myriad of many number, thousands at this point. I can't honestly say that there are any fewer than 150 different kinds of beings that have interacted with us. But everything has been peaceful. The energy we put out brings the peaceful energy and the peaceful beings on in. We have them on the ground, we have them in the air, we have them overhead. We have the ones that are seen, we have the ones that are not seen and only seen on infrared. But the bottom line is after contact, and this is the reason why I do this, is after contact people are changed. In the words of Victor Hugo, is to love someone is to see the face of God. And what we have here, even this show is imho.love. It's based on the love and compassion that we as human beings in our higher angels can show to one and each other and unite in that love and then project that love out there into the universe through this, through this time-space informational highway, the xylem and the phloem that we talked about, that we make this contact and we bring these caring and compassionate and patient beings on in to reaffirm that what we're doing and is correct and right. And I think that's what's going to change the world. Research and science has been great, but you hit the nail on the head. Is that in the post-Cartesian era, or in the Cartesian era, we need to go to the post-Cartesian, where we're once again reconsidering the spiritual nature of the universe. Call it what you will, call it conscious, call it spirit, call it soul, but that's what we need to know and reunite with, because when Descartes separated us from that, centuries ago, it was great in certain respects because we understood the physical universe, but we lost it. We forgot about the spiritual universe in the West. So the West has been wandering for 400 or 500 years, and then now we're finding ourselves again, and it's a wonderful experience. And people like you are very brave, because when you're in academics and you go into this stuff, you're automatically dismissed. They already look at you as a kook. And you're looking in places that's not going to create grant money for scientists who are doing this work and who are ultimate materialists in an age where we're 100 years past materialism and we're in a post-material world, and these people are still working in a paradigm that's as antiquated as life was before 1904 in Kitty Hawk. So
wow,
said my point. So
man.
Yeah, I can't say it better, Mike. Mike, on that note, that's essentially what my book's about, Unseen Forces. In fact, you might know Dave Beatty. He's a producer for Dreamtime Entertainment down in Fort Myers in Florida, a very first-rate professional film producing organization, and he and I are co-producing a documentary essentially on consciousness, whatever that may mean, and we're in the pre-planning stage, and it's based on essentially what we're talking about here, the fact that consciousness exists at all levels of the physical universe, yet where it resides mainly is in the inner world, the subjective inner world, the not so-called non-physical, the piece that's left out of the unified field theory, which serves us beautifully, of course, within the realm of Newtonian physics. We need it. We need to integrate, however, what's often missing, what people like you talk about, that love and compassion, that interconnection with another aspect of reality that is largely ignored, because we don't have the principles to explain it. Can't blame them. But nevertheless, a paradigm shift is occurring because of things that you're saying to a lot of people, and you're not the only one. Unfortunately, it's a few, but that is building, and that's how consensus builds. That's how evolution occurs. Sometimes it's perceived as maybe a little deviant or atypical, but you need some disorganization so you get to organization, or you move towards entropy, towards living. Syntropy is just the opposite. But that's yin yang. That's another kind of thing that we also ascribe to with our reality. Physical, non-physical, conscious, semi-conscious, if you want to call it that. But look, we have consciousness as existing as a subatomic level with the observer effect, the law of entanglement. We know that. The wave duality problem, the law of complementarity, the essence of subjectivity has to be involved in physical laws.
Hey, Bob, what was that? The law of what? It broke up.
Complementarity. Law of complementarity.
Complementarity, okay.
In all aspects of life, we see it in the subatomic world, largely ignored. Go to Niels Bohr, where he says you have to incorporate subjective. Einstein said the same thing. The most powerful force is love. He acknowledged that, and he meant that. We ignore that. In a sense, religion, spirituality, science, they're branches of the same tree. Newtonian physics forgets that, but Einstein recognized that. But consciousness, whatever that is, exists all over the place. Mental intention, intuition, subatomically, human to human, ESP, near-death experiences. Maybe that's cosmological evidence of near-death experience. But the point is, everybody says it. You say love, passion, compassion, sympathy, empathy. You're energized, you're passionate in that respect, in conveying that information because of what? Peak experience triggered, that spiritual transformative experience. Call it whatever you want, mystical, whatever, the ego is the solution. The cork's out of the friggin' bottle. You can't put it back in. It's
right.
Kundalini, like awaken, whatever you want to call it. The cork is out of the bottle, you're more aware. Ego dissolution. I'm not the center of the universe anymore. You got to function this way. But you got, it's more, you're more involved with everybody else's man, more empathetic, less selfish, all that sort of less ego stuff. Hard to fight, man. It's hard to fight.
But
Condition. It's a tough one. We know that.
Doc.
It's all over.
I'm sorry. I said, Doc, that's the thing that we base this, or these CE5 meetings on, is a very organic, just a core source of love, the most innocent piece of love that you still maintain. Is that's what we offer in our group meditation, and we send it up, all in a vortex of love and innocence, which, as far as we can figure, is the frequency that they would communicate on, is that level of innocence, that level of love, because that's who you would want to communicate with, and that's what happened. It's been amazing, the events and the sightings, and also the collective consciousness of the people that show up here is amazing. I've never been more at home with people that I just met. Just amazing.
When is your next CE5 event? Can you kind of inform me and everyone else?
Of course. It's Saturday night coming, the 4th of September, here at the Darby Ranch. It's already booked solid, so but we're gonna be doing some expansion, because this what we're tapping into here, people are really, really finding a genuine feeling of oneness with themselves, with the universe, with each other, and this is the peace train, man. And to think of yourself with a level of humility, but trying to join in more congruently with the love force of the universe, man, that's a hell of a mission,
Well, and it shouldn't be. I don't, I've heard that before.
Uh-huh.
I see that being kind of expressed to other academics who kind of talk a little bit openly about their own personal experiences, but it's amazing how many, it doesn't matter what walk of life you come from, people are coming, in a sense, out of the closet in that respect, talking about their UAP, whatever, abduction-like experiences, peak experiences, which come in many forms, obviously, with the near-death, non-body, meditation practices, whatever causes that cork to come out of the bottle. It could be even a severe emotional trauma of one form, a physical pain even. People are in utter despair in life, on their hands and knees, begging for help, and the deity appears at their feet, and they're changed from that moment forward. The Newtonian physics will ignore that, but it's real. It changed the person for the good. This happens all the time, but it happens in so many different ways. Either a UAP, an intelligent light phenomena of some sort, possibly, very likely, and to all the other different types of triggers that are also reinforced experimentally. If Newtonian mainstream physicists want to see the proof of this mental intention or this inner subjective essence that we're trying to get at and incorporate within our current standard scientific principles, which is a challenge indeed, but is where science will eventually move into the future. There will be the incorporation or integration of the subjective science. And the essence or meaning that we give to life is what part of reality really should be. Not only objective science in the sense of 3D, but also mental intention in terms of what we see in the Global Consciousness Project, or the results from various laboratories. Experiments done by Dean Radin, for instance, who shows that mental intention can indeed influence physical systems. We see this on every level, even via EEG shifts between two people, even though they are displaced in a Faraday cage. You flicker a light in the visual field of one, and the other individual also receives a change simultaneously in the alpha waves associated with the time locking of the flashes of light in the other, especially if they're closely related, like as in twins. You tend to see that more often. The point is, there are many instances that can bore you and everybody else, and I'm sure you're familiar with many of these kinds of experiments. There's over 6,000 participants, over 200-300 individual studies done that conclusively prove the same thing. That is mental intention, intuition, call it whatever you want, an aspect, attribute of consciousness, if you want to refer to it as that. And there's more aspects to it. Maybe this is just one. The same part that also subserves in medical healing as well.
Yeah.
Via intention, or calling down another intelligence from above via intention, among many other things, via intention. And we don't understand that aspect of our inner subjective selves has more impact on reality than we can ever understand, at least at this period in time of our evolution. We haven't been out of the primordial soup for all that long, but I can see it's a good guess. And down the road, a few hundred years, whatever, it's a slow evolving process. Paradigm shifts don't happen overnight. Darwinism, Copernicanism, it takes time, right? But we're going towards the more subjective, more ESP. Kids are learning that now. Precognition. We see, in other words, when people have synchronicities, what are we seeing? We're seeing the cause before the effect.
Okay.
Normally, it's causal. We learn that. Time moves linearly. Effects, cause effect. We see synchronously the effects before the cause. Acausally, effects before the cause. Now think about that for a second. It takes a while to even understand what that means. The effects before the cause. You see in the future before it happens.
Okay.
You know, it's esoteric because it's a trick on the brain. Because we never look at reality that way. Start looking at it that way, and you realize that's what synchronicity is. We're often given the future before events leading up to it.
Yes, yes.
We dismiss that gut feeling. We dismiss, I know that's the truth. Can't we push it? We brush it aside because of ego, because of whatever convenience, monetarily, time-wise, may invite itself at that time that doesn't allow us to go with our instinct. Oh, come on, everybody, look back. Come on, 10, 20, 30 years. It go with the instinct. Why didn't I? Oh, how many of us can say that how many times?
Right.
Why? And we knew it at the time. I know. That instance is coming up right here, right now.
Well, it's like
it's a biggie.
It's like our
right?
Yeah, it is. It's like our senses. You know, we can pick up sound, and we're okay with that because that exists in the material world that we understand. But if we pick up something else that we sense some other way, ESP, or one of the many senses that aren't the major ones, we completely dismiss that. And you mentioned Newton. Well. Newtonian physics has limited us to a physical world where only the world that we're in is apparently like 4% is matter and 96% is something else. So, and looking outside and into the matter seems very limiting when all along we should have been looking into the inside. And it's ironic that Descartes learned the scientific method from an angel that met with him in a dream, and on the same level, Einstein says that he got the theory of relativity in his sleep. It's the same thing talking to us. Who's giving us this information? That's what I want to know. I mean, please find that out, Doc, will you?
Well, it's funny you say that. There is a relatively new theory. I spoke with Tom Campbell just the other day with Reverend Endez. Tom Campbell, who wrote My Big Toe, The Theory of Everything. That Tom Campbell. What does he have? A physicist background, engineering background? Very bright guy. He comes from that database, information processing, computer language-based world. A remarkable mind, but his answer to your question, well, the only answer is it's all explainable if you can accept that it's a virtual reality. That's about a thing. Okay? I open up the umbrella. Virtual reality, 1,000 years in the future. I don't know if it's as simple as saying it. 1,000 years in the future, this techno nerd at the time who's working for Activision, Blizzard, whatever that company is that makes, right, those kind of games, and they're doing the simulations of beings, but in the future, they're biologic entities. That's where we come in. So, I mean, yeah, I know. That it gets to the level where we explain everything based on one system.
Right.
So if I come from that background, I'm being controlled. This is part of a simulation. A lot of people ascribe to that. Why? Because there's a lot of techno nerds out there. Well, same could be said for the theologists and the philosophers and I don't know what I am, what you are, right? We all have our take, but that's cool. That's consciousness. It's different. For different, everybody's different. You say I interact with how many beings you say are up there, whatever.
Easily over 100, could be as many as 1,000.
Well, you got as many as you meet up with. They're all going to be different. How many different people are there when you meet them?
Well, right now we're at 40 per meeting, which is another thing I'd mention. Is
but of course they're going to be there. Everyone is different because they're like individual human beings with different personalities. Unless you're talking about that one's a gray, a reptilian, that kind of stuff, or just a different being, right? A different personality.
Yeah, and it's also each human out here is different, and they're projecting their thoughts and their prayers, and they're bringing in entities that are consistent with their projection of the love and energy that they're sending out there.
Yeah,
So,
and I think that's the.
I see what you're saying. That's why that gets into the individuality of what I'm saying. Correct. It works both ways. In fact, that's a very interesting point you make, because a healer's, like a Bill Bankson, the Bankson healing method, he's done a lot of experiments with mice in particular, and he, through his healing method, non-physical, through intention, resonant bonding of some type, it's another story, these tumors disappear. Okay, that's what he shows before and after in his pictures, and he produced that in published articles in refereed scientific journals. Same thing, mental intention, that resonant bonding. That goes back to what your question is. You know, you're establishing a resonant bond of some type with another intelligence. And if you send out love, that is a type of frequency, whatever you want to call it. I don't think we know what it is, because we don't have the principles yet, but it doesn't matter. You see the cause effect. You see the response happening. You send out. You know what to send out in order to get the effect you desire. And Bledsoe says the same thing. A lot of people who interact with the phenomena say the same thing. In fact, get into this. You may be familiar with the work of, you've heard of the Hasdalen lights in Hasdalen, Norway, I assume?
yes.
The light phenomenon. It's
Right.
really popular, like Loch Ness, right? Everybody's heard of that. Well, it's not only unique to Hasdalen, I think pretty heavy duty over there in the frequency and such. But we see that in Sedona, Arizona, where I saw my two orange orbs, not alone, but many other places, for some reason. And it could be geothermal, as some people speculate, geothermal, who knows? It could be. Or not. There's something else unique going on. Maybe.
Yeah. I compare it to fishing on the beaver kill on opening day. It's like, if you can't see a UFO when you're in Shasta or in Joshua Tree, you need to have your vision checked, because these areas are such hot spots. You're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. I forget what I was trying to say, but
The thing that we notice, Dr. Davis, is the collective group out here is the state of mind that we kind of all share is this wonderful level of innocence, understanding that we all have limited capabilities and within our human form, living in this meat bag, you get so much variable space, but the spirit within us is absolutely infinite. So as over the months, we have this collective meditation, and then we really we offer as much innocence as we can muster and as much heartfelt love. We create this scenario in our minds, and we offer it simply because we think that that's the beam of communication that we could probably catch. And what's been amazing is the couple of times that we've had this wonderful collective meditation, like within minutes, we've had like an aerial response, we've had sightings, and everybody saw it. It was like, the beautiful lights dashing across the sky. Some of them look like stones skipping over. Some of them are bright orbs. And I mean, like within minutes of us offering our little beam of innocence from that circle of people, and it's amazing when you feel that for the other people in the group, and then for yourself, and then actually like, wow, that energy made it to where we sent it, and that is it's huge.
Well, that'd be like Lao Tzu's law of energy return, which I don't know if Dr. Davis is familiar with it, but it may actually comport with his law of compartmentality. So because you kind of stumped me on that one, Doc, what did you mean by law of compartmentality? What's going on with that? I don't know that.
Complementarity.
Complementarity. Okay, thank you.
Complementarity. It relates to the wave duality particle dilemma. The act of observation alone can alter the behavior of subatomic particles. We see this behave as a wave or a particle based on observation, or going through one or two slits. In other words, based on it being a particle or an observation. And point is, we see a lot of the examples like that. It's one that relates to what you were saying. I remember now when I was trying to get across, and I forgot because it's believe it or not, past my bedtime. I do get up quite early, so I'm going to be a little punchy from here on, more than likely, and forgetful, and I apologize in advance. But it relates, however, to what we're saying, because the astrophysicist Dr. Massimo Teodorani from Italy, who studied the hands-down lights, always ascribed to the scientific method in his study of it, and always considered it a purely, strictly physical phenomenon, largely explainable by referring to it as earth lights or pseudo lights, whatever. Having a geothermal like plasma based ionized gas, kind of reality to it. That's still, however, very mysterious in nature. We still don't have a good understanding of plasma ionized gas, which comprises what? 99% of the visible universe. I believe it's remarkable. The sun and stars are made of plasma, of course. Well, we need more plasma physicists, as they have in Russia, who some consider to be a life form, at least it behaves in some ways like a life form, or at least gives the appearance of an intelligence. However, there are people who study it, like another physicist, Rutledge, back in Missouri, where there's also frequent light phenomena. Back in the study for like a decade or two. He came to the same phenomena as Teodorani did. High-powered scientists applying the scientific method, thinking it's some physical phenomena of some type. They all believe that it's a life form and that they're interacting.
Wow.
In a meaningful, purposeful way. And they talk about just what you're talking about, love.
Wow.
Where's that come from? Isn't that cool? You see?
It's undeniable.
We're trying to put the pieces together.
Right.
And it doesn't stop there. There is an interchange. And it's not only, you see, that law of complementarity kind of all interrelates with what you're mentioning. Yin, yang, positive, negative, love, hate, all that. Whatever, physical, non-physical, there's truth to it. There's truth, yin, yang, all that sort of stuff. And there's mental telepathy in the sense that it has to go both ways. There's healer and healee. In other words, when there is healing going on, it's not only I can heal, look at me, I have the power. No, you have to have the power to receive it just as much as I have the power to give it. That's why it doesn't work a lot of times, because they know how to receive it and give it. It goes both ways. Some of you people are good at it. Some of you are antennas, like musicians, for some reason.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Absolutely.
Here.
Sure.
I'm not coming from experience here.
No,
I can't wait to go up to you.
Yeah. In a way, what you mentioned in the healing, and we've had healings out here, and I'm one of them. I can explain it to you some other time, but it had to do with a heart attack, and when they went in, they found nothing wrong. But we've had a multiple sclerosis healing out here of an adult. We've had a second generation cancer healing out here with one of our members. I don't think
they have to be open to it too. They have to want to receive it and be as open as can be. I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely, and their intention and request has to be crystal clear as well. That's
Right.
another thing that I
Exactly.
found out is you won't get back in the law of energy return what you haven't put out or asked for in return.
And doesn't it, it comes, it's so simple. It comes back to the law of karma. Sometimes it's like, duh. You write it off to woo-woo or ancient text, folklore, and it can't be real because I didn't read it in an encyclopedia or Google or something.com or something. We all make these mistakes. We make these errors in inductive reasoning. We believe in things we want to be true. We're human beings, and that's the brain. We evolved on Earth, so it's good at 3D. You said it earlier, acoustic energy. Yeah, I can't hear below 20 hertz or above 20,000 hertz. We know that. But, yeah, of course, unseen energy, obviously it exists. It's, again, duh. Of course energy exists we can't perceive. We knew this since second grade, but we forget it, and we forget, too, that why can't there be intelligences just the same beyond 20,000 hertz and below 20 hertz? Not acoustically, but dimensionally.
Yeah,
Time,
sure.
Phase, especially phase. Same time, same place. The phase is different, so you don't really, see them. But you get these piercing the veil. The intention can shift that phase, so you resonate much better, and then you slip in. Then you can, gel. But you got to feel it to understand that. You can't use language. It's like trying to explain consciousness to somebody. Good luck. It's like, you're lost. Don't even bother. What's consciousness here? Don't even bother. Have a nice day. Because I'll tell you, because you're using consciousness trying to explain consciousness. Why don't you at the same time stick a spoon up your butt? It can't be done. It's fun not to do that. not to do the latter.
You have the same.
No, it's cool to talk about it. It's really, really cool. You got to, but don't expect to have an answer. That's what I'm trying to say. And don't push the answer on others. That's what I'm trying to. That's the main message here. Talk about it as much as you want, man. Everybody should. That's what, like life and death and everything in between. That's personally important, especially with people who get it and who are not going to knock you for it or criticize, debunk you. We know that stuff. I don't want to get into it.
Yeah, we don't need it. We have the same problem when we try to explain what UFOs are to the same people that are right next to us seeing the same thing. It's like, what is that? It's like, I don't know, but it's there. It's the same problem with God and spirituality. Everybody has a subjective interpretation of what we all think might be an objective concept, but it never is, and it can't be. But let me just mention that your website is the UFOphenomenon.com, right?
No, go to BobDavisSpeaks.com.
BobDavisSpeaks.com. Okay, that's the old. Okay, BobDavisSpeaks.com.
Yeah.
And then you're working on a project, and Lou and I talked about a GoFundMe or something like that. That this is a project that you're working on, and I'm wondering if you have. Is this a grant thing, or are you looking to have people help you with the project? And if you are, please explain it to us, because you're a worthwhile guy, and I'd like to help, and I'd like to see as many people as possible help you out.
That's very kind of you. The bottom line, let me just get this out. As far as I'm concerned, money is secondary. I'm not doing it for the money. Please, of course, we need money to make a film. I'm new to this game, but I do realize that if you want something on PBS to reach many people who you want to hear a few things that you think are important to say to help shift the needle, to help make people realize that there's certainly a lot more going on that should be a topic of conversation, and clarification in order to understand why people feel and act the way they do, and talk about the things and experiences that they have.
Sure.
remove the stigmas that exist in society and suppress millions of people who are really hiding and are very reluctant to share their personal experiences of such a profound nature because of the stigma that is placed upon us from the medical community and even society in general. And unfortunately, our interpretation of reality is so culturally based, and anything out of the norm or anything that can't be explained by our current scientific paradigm is disregarded or debunked too much of the time. We need to open up those doors, support people who have these profound spiritual transformative experiences that are anxiety-provoking, and they need people to speak to. People especially who have had or shared similar experiences and understand that they're not crazy, so to speak. We're not psychotic. Some are. We have to be careful here and not paint the brush and apply to everybody. But the vast majority of individuals we're talking about interacting with non-human intelligences and UAP and different lights and the grays. No. The vast majority are well-balanced individuals from all walks of life, and this has been going on throughout time. We don't understand fully what's going on here, but these individuals, more importantly than really anything, need to be better supported, and they need to feel freer to communicate to others. If I may say again, that's the real pandemic too that's going on here worldwide. And I just was on a show. Look, worldwide. I was just broadcast out of Shanghai on a station where they're trying to go beyond their firewall to share information from the West. They got a hold of me somehow, and so I spent an hour plus talking about the UAP reports. They're very curious about. They hear about it, but not in detail. And people here too in China, they say, are having similar kinds of experiences. Of course they are. I talk to them in detail. Of course they're having the experiences, and of course it's suppressed. They're very reluctant to talk about it, but they do. It gets out there in a limited way, and they reach out trying to seek more information. That's a shame too. And here too, we have other problems. It's suppressed even so there, but it's suppressed here as well too.
But the thing that Mike and I notice is that because this is based in such a purity, in such a effort of love, and a propelling of innocence back into the world, this message, these frequencies, these vibrations that we're sharing on this show, in the field, when we have our events, it really travels. It really, people take it home and they take it in their heart. And because it's one of the most genuine things that I think people can feel. And because when you get to that point where it's you and your open heart and your open mind, convinced that you know little and you're willing to receive on this current of love and innocence that you're sending out, and you're waiting to be reciprocated with the same, when that happens and you're in that presence, it's something that you recall all the time. You remember that feeling. You remember that emotion. You remember that clarity to where you really, people say, oh, I'm from another world, or I'm not from here, and all that stuff. But those are those moments that you actually feel that in the biggest way that you can. So, and those waves of love and innocence that go out from the people that are here and from the people that listen to the show and the people that are listening to you reason with them, those are the vibrations that you have to send out into the world, literally just to keep everything neutral, because the bad broadcasters are out there too, and their drums are pretty loud. But this organic movement towards love and oneness, and not only the oneness of this earth, but the oneness of all things. It's these little steps, these little vibrational changes that are really going to make the ultimate difference someday. We're planting the seed to that tree. We'll probably never sit in its shade, but we know what we're here for.
Very well said, Mike. But you see, along those lines, Dave and I would love to incorporate you also in the documentary. People who have these kinds of experiences with what we consider to be anomalous, shall we say, which really will be non-anomalous in the future once we better understand it, of course. But we want to incorporate your input as best as we can to capture the essence of what you're talking about, maybe as it's portrayed to society in general, to better inform them that consciousness is real, it can interact with other intelligences, and this other phenomena is real. But more than that, it's transformative, and there's a message behind it along the lines you're sharing, and we see that message consistently given, and we want to do a documentary that incorporates that. And that's why Dave Beatty with Dreamtime Entertainment, we got to set up a GoFundMe thing. Of course, we're going to be asking for sponsorship and donations, and I feel very reluctant about that, but the more I read about it, that's not a GoFundMe, it's going to be on Kickstarter, and which I find out is a typical approach, strategy if you want to do a documentary film these days.
We have a friend that's done. We've had a friend that's done a documentary, and we got a couple out there that have done this kind of thing. Mark McNabb is one of them. But if somebody wants to fund you at Kickstarter, and I think I understand you have to do this at some point in time. We all can't retire and be multi-millionaires and fund this, because this is when they mean grassroots, I mean we're grassroots. We're dealing with our own stuff. I mean, people aren't coming out of hiding until they retire, and it's a courageous act to do that, to do what you're doing. Because when you do that, that's the reason why Carl Jung never let anybody know that he was a contactee, because if he did, a whole body of life's work would have been dismissed, because he would have been called a quack. And coming out of the closet like this is a courageous act, and you don't have the kind of money that it takes to do this. And I want to see that we get this word out here, so people can get you funded or help fund you. I mean, I'm going to contribute, and I, whether you want me on the show or not, I want to get things moving for you. So if I want to contribute, how do I get you money to kickstart so we can get this thing kickstarted?
It's not even off the ground yet, but we're we're exploring that just as we speak, literally getting it off the ground, and so it's even premature to even contribute. But thank you, please. Your thoughts are very kind.
When you get that path set up, please let us know. We will we'll help you promote it, and we'll drop all the information we can for you. Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We started with 3 members in this group 4.5 years ago. Now we have almost 440 practicing members, and just the numbers they keep on doubling every year. And this is a movement that's growing, and it's of the highest importance. And we talked earlier before the show that people of substance and conscience have to become members of this, and those kind of people have come out of the woodwork, like Ray Hernandez. I mean, a solid guy, incredibly intelligent, a tax attorney who even works for the IRS. I mean, these are normal, regular people. Nancy Dutetra, once again. They're in Gus Macrius. IT tech. I mean, these are all, humanly, highly intelligent and responsible human beings, and they've sacrificed literally their lives. It's like my daughter said when I was going to go public about my contact work. She goes, "Oh, there goes that judgeship." She was absolutely right. The people that know me, the minute they know that I'm doing this, they go from knowing me as Mike Murburg, attorney, practicing lawyer, and a pretty damn good trial lawyer, to holy crap, he talks to aliens. It's a little more than that, but it's an act of courage.
How we forget, that's why sometimes it's nice to talk to historians, We forget what people before us said. How many Nobel laureates talked about things that, if I said it now, I'd be considered beyond woo-woo. We're talking about Wigner and Niels Bohr and et cetera, talking about a field of consciousness existing over the planet Earth. We're talking about them all discussing things that are psychic in nature from their own personal experiences and how they observe the universe. True, they lack some scientific principles, but even in modern times, it's remarkable the personal experiences that people are having. That, of course, they're only going to reveal after they retire, but it's happening at such a high frequency. I'm talking to these individuals after they retire, and I see these budding groups of little communities all over social media, Facebook, etc. But it's pronounced. You see, and you get more and more people who are now retiring, and now they're moving in, and they're a little freer. They can talk, they can do some research, explore. It's remarkable. It's an explosion. And it's fuel, and people like you in the forefront. My gosh, in the forefront. Look at you. You're a practicing laboratory. It's remarkable what you're doing. It's astonishing. It truly is.
Well, thank you.
How you contribute to the evolution that you're trying to convey, that you're talking about. You're a doer, not only a sayer. See, we all talk, in a sense, but we do our best, however, to shift the needle a little bit more, maybe dramatically, with a little bit more effort, commitment, and passion, because we're lit. Maybe a little genetically programmed, whatever happened about that, who knows what contribution there, but we're lit for other reasons, through experience and whatever else. The intangibles, insight, who knows. The thing is, whatever that is, that's a subjectivity which we ignore and forget. Once we start incorporating it, things like this, like what you're experiencing happen. You take control. You have purpose over life. You alter the lives of others in very meaningful, profound ways. You provide a forum, an environment for people to have a peak experience, you son of a bitch. Who the hell are you? Who the hell are you to help facilitate these spiritual transformative events, whatever you want to call it, mystical, whatever you want, whatever. Who the hell are you? Is that not the coolest thing? And of course, some of these people, sure, they're scratching their head, they're anxious, wow, they feel like I ran over by a truck because they're interacting with a light being. I talked to Ray, I've talked to people who've been to your place and have had just the most incredible experiences, positive experiences, that initially, of course, are surprising and shocking in a way because it's unexpected, it's atypical. You never saw it before. You never thought it was possible before. It was never imagined before. You maybe expected it, but it never happened before. Your brain is totally confused. But more than that, you felt a connection, right? You felt the resonant bond. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
There is when you know it's a real thing, when you know you're actually having a phase of contact, it literally does. It touches your spirit. It touches your soul. It makes
it lifts your hearts when you see a real entity. Your heart chakra, your heart electromagnetic field automatically jumps out to reach it. It is truly an out-of-body experience in its own way, and then it's reflected back to you, and then after that, you're forever changed. Once you've made the heart connection with it, you will always be able to determine what's a real one and what's some kind of government thing floating around out there. Yeah. I mean, that's the absolute litmus test if you're making contact with these entities.
And the collective consciousness of this group are just the most beautiful souls, just the most peaceful people, and I mean, just exclusive people that are willing to set themselves aside and just let their spirit and their soul and their intention soar away from their physicality and let it be touched by something that they know is out there. And it's a wonderful leap of faith and trust in the oneness of all things. and it's just changing lives every week. It's amazing.
We keep on honing this, and my goal was initially to democratize contact, because one of the reasons I started doing this is I couldn't afford to go to a Dr. G event. Because I didn't have, number one, I didn't have $250 in my pocket to order his CD, and then so I started my own, and then figured it out myself. And then I'm not the kind of person that can lay down, $4,000, to go out to Joshua Tree, which, like I say, is like, this is Darby, Florida. I mean, we're not really known for our UFO sightings at this point. We're still kind of under the radar.
We're getting there, though.
But
we're number 10 with a bullet.
But yeah. But one of the convocations that we've been using was I lifted it from Pushkin's eulogy of Dostoevsky at Dostoevsky's funeral, and he said, "May the love that unites us to him now be the love that unites us to each other." And during the past two late night convocations we did, that was the communal thought was, may the love that unites us together here tonight as brothers and sisters be the same love and compassion that connects us with our brothers and sisters of the sky. I'm not exactly how I said it, but
it was quite eloquent.
It's the oneness of connection. And what I've also found is that strangers come here. Half the group that shows up here on a monthly basis are new people. And I'm lucky to have people that return on a regular basis that help me, because it's a lot of work. But what happens is that we started the congregation. We started allowing people come here much earlier than an hour before going out to the field. So we actually get to know one another. We break bread together. We joke around. We have fun. We educate each other on where we've been, what we've seen. So we get to know each other very well in the hour or two, or sometimes three, before we go out to the field. And then by then we know each other, and then we can know the people you love, and you congregate and you love and respect them, and it's just a great group. And we with that kind of camaraderie, we have wonderful contact, and it reflects back to the massive contact we had in 2018 when we had literally an armada of maybe 1,300 craft come overhead, and it took all of maybe 10 or 12 seconds to do it, and synchronistically two photographs came out on a camera that wasn't supposed to be photographing it in that direction at the time. Absolute miracle that it happened. But we know what synchronicity is, and we know what these beings are capable of. But the consequence of that day was the group had come down to the ranch because we were still cleaning up after a hurricane, and all day long they worked around here and helped me out. It was an act of true love. And during the lunchtime, when everybody took a break and was in the carport, we had a craft show overhead just to say, "Hey, we're here. Thanks. We joined. We wanted to help, but
I brought coleslaw.
Yeah, I got my coleslaw. I couldn't come down and help you, but we're nice that you're doing that. But that kind of love and compassion, and helping your brother out and helping your neighbor out because they're in need and for no other reason is what makes this all work. And we had the most spectacular show ever there that night because of that kind of love and compassion. So we kind of engender that, and then we try to project that. And that's, we've just been having, wonderful results up here, including ground forms that now come to meet us. Some of the photographs we have are, rather astounding. And
what do you mean ground forms? What do you mean?
Oh, I'll have to send you the photographs. We have energies that are on the ground.
Energy orbs.
Energy orbs are human-looking entities and beings that show up on the photographs. They can and cannot be seen in different sorts of lights. Some of them are, come up and they show on some people have infrared cameras. This is grassroots. We don't have any technical, really high-tech stuff out here, and what we see is what we get. But it's nonetheless, there we've managed to document and photograph it, but not for the purpose of science, but for the purpose of, hey, this entity told me to put my camera in that direction and take a photograph, and then we have phenomena showing up. It's happened to Lou. It happens out here. I mean, these are amazing. It's just an amazing kind of experience that absolutely dovetails with the ability to comport consciousness across time and space to an entity or entities that are listening, and they care.
And what David Baum, among others, have been saying, physical universe is ruled by locality and causality. So that's why we kind of see this. Some people refer to it as this overarching meaning field, but it could just very well be another intelligence as a meaning field. What you put out, you get back, and whatever meaning you apply to whatever the phenomenon might be, they know how to manipulate it so that you receive what you think it should be.
Yeah, true.
I don't know if there's any truth to that. Some people describe it that way. What you think it will be is what it is. Like Jesus Christ said, bada bing, and Buddha, bada bing, because of my cultural heritage, my beliefs, etc. It's kind of like you create your reality based on your expectations of what the phenomenon. I don't know if they operate that way, but that's what I hear from some people. Am I correct at all?
Well, they're very able to forgive all sins, and there's some depth behind.
That's good to know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, we've people that have been in prison, they don't make judgments.
Right.
It's yeah. Well, we're getting to the end of the hour, and I know you're getting tired. But what I'm going to do is, Bob, please give us a call and come back any time, because we're just scratching the top of the iceberg here, and we covered such a wide panoply of the umbrella that I'd like to focus on things that you really want to talk about. You've answered all our kind of questions, and we kind of gasped more than we should have, and probably let you talk some more.
No. It works both ways. What you had to say is as important, if not more important than I, because you see, your experiences, I'm experiences too. We're all experiences in a different way, of course. I'd like to experience some of what you have, and I'll talk to what I've experienced, so we can share and learn from each other. But the point is, what may initially knock our socks off, once integrated over time, with the proper support, we need to talk much more about that, as we alluded to as well. And again, the documentary is not going to entirely ignore that aspect of it. We can't, but we'll discuss much more about it. And Mike and both of you, thank you both so much for inviting me to be on.
Yeah.
I look forward to being with you much more often, and certainly seeing you for your magic up in Derby Ranch.
Come on down, man. We got a zero.
October, November.
Very good. We got a zero.
With the camera. We'll talk more about that.
Yeah, we got a zero gravity chair for you.
Sounds good.
And you know what else, too, Doc? It's really cool. You sound, Bob. You sound a lot like Lenny Bruce, and I've just been enjoying. It was, of course, I come up from a stand-up comedy background, and man, you've got such wonderful cadences, just like him. It's a pleasure to listen.
Well, it's the Bronx. You're growing up in the streets of the Bronx. That explains a lot, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
whatever.
It made it extra. It made it extra enjoyable. Thank you for joining us.
I understand what you're saying. I'm showing my age. I know what you mean. Hey, thanks, pal.
All right, Bob.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
Both of you.
Thank you.
Too, brother.
God bless
Thank
you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Dr. Bob Davis here on the imho.love show. I'm Lou Angelwolf. This is Mike Murburg. We went a little long tonight, but it was a special occasion. Hopefully you picked up on the second half where we picked up, because I had a call come in, knocked out the first half, and I hope you picked back up. Thank you so much. Let us know how the sound quality was, if it was something that was easily listenable, because this is a little apparatus that we figured out. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Lou Angelwolf, Mike Murburg, like we say every week, use your head, trust your gut, and your heart will take you home. Thank you. Say good night to the people, Mike.
Good night to the people.
Good night.
Thanks, y'all.
All right. Hey, Daniel. All right. John Sylvester. Wow. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. Nice. Very good. Amy! Only 5 minutes were knocked out, says Amy. Thank you, Amy. And hi, Suzette. Thank you. And Mark Cottingham. Man, that was a big show, baby. So we love you so much. And see many